Hi Lou. It's come to my attention that I have done a bad thing. I did not complete all of the ARC challenges. In penance for this, today I plan to do the ARC Terrible 10K while completing all of the challenges along the way. Here I have my backpack, I have my bike, and on the ground, 6 cans. These are not actually soup, they're actually beans. But they will be going in my backpack. Each one to begin my 10K challenge. Let's go. So I've made it about a mile up the road now. And it's a lot warmer out than I expected. But fortunately, I brought with me today this vintage Harwood cross-country singlet. Now don't tell Kerrigan that I have this, but it might come in handy on a warm day like today. When I was choosing a route for this terrible 10K, I wanted to choose the toughest, steepest, hilliest route I could find to truly match the challenge. This route that I chose goes uphill from my house, lots of steep uphills, and finally ends up at the top of the Moortown Mountain Road. This is actually a route that I've run with you, Lou, before, probably back when I was in 7th or 8th grade. And if you remember, there are some really steep hills. I'm about to get to the first one of those. You might be able to see a little bit of it behind me. So on the way up, I'm going to think about all the things I can get rid of. And then maybe at the top I'll get rid of a few things and make this pack a little lighter. Well, I made it to the top. It was really hard. And it got me thinking about what I have with me, specifically what I have in my backpack, and what I might be able to get rid of to make this just a little bit easier. The first thing that I am going to get rid of is 1 can of small white beans. The second thing is 1 can of vegetarian refried beans. Next I have 1 can of pink beans. Another can of vegetarian refried beans. A can of black beans. And finally, a second can of black beans. Now don't ask me why we had so many beans to begin with. I'm going to cover them up a little bit, make them a little bit camouflaged, and then carry on without these beans weighing me down. I have arrived now at the point on my route where the road goes this way and my trail goes off into the deep dark woods here. Now it's a little bit scary up in those deep dark woods, but fortunately I have some support. This is Mr. Quackers Jr. You may have seen his father, Mr. Quackers, in my dad's duck video. This is a smaller version, fits in the backpack, and this duck will support me on the next leg of my journey. My trusty companion here, Mr. Quackers Jr., just pointed out that he's hearing quite a few gunshots up here on the road less traveled. So, I think at this point I'm going to have to do a few things at once. The first thing is a costume change. Now that I'm wearing slightly more conspicuous clothing, the second thing is to put on some music.
And all, but we were silly for half an hour or more. Me with my long legs dragging on the floor. A rock.
Now that I have some of my favorite music playing,
all but we were happy.
I'd like to relate a story. This is one that I heard
But there was I.
when I was in Yellowstone with my family, and we went hiking.
To hear my mother singing.
It turned out that it was mating season for the buffalo. So we got halfway through a herd of buffalo that were chasing each other around and decided that we probably ought to turn around.
And we burned up the chair.
And on the way back, we met a guy
All that was left
who had
was
this
the
piece
chair
of
we
wisdom
couldn't
for
break.
us.
And the harp.
Sometimes it's smart to make wise choices. In light of that, I think that I am going to turn around, bike back down, not go up where I can hear there's a bunch of gunshots. So, I might have to compact some of my challenges. On the way down, I'll think of a few jokes for you. But in the meantime, I'd like to find a cure for these cold hands. You see, gripping the handlebars the whole time, my hands have gotten pretty cold. And I'm really looking for something that I can use to grip them and keep my hands a little bit insulated. Wow, what luck! These may not technically be oven mitts, but they are devices used to take hot things out of the oven, which may also be used to cushion my hands on the ride down. Ready to go. On the way down here, I noticed that there's a bunch of snow still on the road, and I was reminded of a great scene from a great movie. This is from The Fellowship of the Ring, when the Fellowship is attempting to cross over Caradhras, and it is snowing so hard, and there are huge drifts and cornices, and all of a sudden, a big chunk of snow falls on their heads. Wonderful scene. I came across something odd here on the way down, and it reminded me of a good joke. I came across these 6 cans of beans. Now you may know some version of this joke. It's more of a riddle than a joke. But here's my version. In a black house, there lives 1 can of black beans. In a pink house, there lives 1 can of pink beans. In a second black house, there lives another can of black beans. And in a small white house, there lives 1 can of small white beans. Now the riddle is, who lives in a vegetarian refried house? The answer? Not 1, but 2 cans of vegetarian refried beans. Well, I did it. I made it back. I did all the challenges. Spike, I hope it was enough. And like any good ARK challenge, I'm now covered in mud.